rivalry between the Dodgers and Giants. Their pasts are certainly decorated. So are their futures potentially. And for more on this season's rivalry, we say hello to Buster Olney.
Yeah, Matt, the Dodgers and Giants have each logged 136 games, and yet there's so much unresolved. First off, the National League West, these two teams are tied. They're vying for the #1 seed in the National League playoffs. Walker Buehler starts for the Dodgers tonight. He's one of the front runners for the National League Cy Young Award, along with Corbin Burns of the Milwaukee Brewers. And the National League MVP race seems to be wide open. Trey Turner, who's stepping in the box, one of those, Matt.
Let's get you right to the Dodgers starting lineup, Buster, brought to you by Taco Bell. Los Angeles leads it off with Turner, Muncy, and Betts. It's powerful up front. LA averaging over 5 runs a game. Justin Turner, Seager, and Smith. Chris Taylor, Cody Bellinger, Walker, Buehler rounded out. We are underway this afternoon. It is an opener on the mound for Gabe Kapler and the Giants. 29-year-old veteran right-hander Dominic Leone making his first career start in his 8 seasons in the big leagues. The Giants are his 6th major league employer. Pitched out of the bullpen on Friday and got the 10th inning in San Francisco's series opening win, and he's quickly on top of Trey Turner, 0-2.
Yeah, Leone has a hard fastball, hard cutter, and a slider. Command on the fastball is going to be the key here early on. He can throw inside and outside to both lefties and righties.
Comes inside and misses to Trey Turner, who again led off yesterday's Dodger win with a home run, his 21st of the season. Ran his hitting streak to 11, and you can already feel the enthusiasm in the ballpark. And we're 3 pitches into the game.
There's a playoff feel in the building, that's for sure.
And the 1-2 to Turner is hit in the air out to right field. Mike Yastrzemski's out there today. Already a better start this afternoon than yesterday's for the Giants. Again, the 2 best records in the entire sport, and that's a fact with Tampa Bay's loss today. Such great stuff happening in all the races in the American League in particular. This is the first day on the schedule since July 11th where the Rays, Yankees, and Red Sox have all lost. Oakland lost in Toronto. And with 26 games left in the regular season, there is still so much to be determined. Here's Max Muncy now with 1 away. Muncy has endured a hitless series here in San Francisco. A perennial Giant tormentor has been contained this weekend. 0 for 7 with 2 walks and 4 strikeouts. And a strike, and it's 1-1 now to Max Muncy. Dodgers wearing their City Connect uniforms today that have, for the most part, been widely embraced, certainly by Dodger fans, many of whom have shown up here on the road today. A big Dodger contingency in the ballpark, as is always the case.
Well, blue is wild.
I think the same can be said when this series is in Southern California. A lot of Giant fans head south to support their team on the road.
You feel the excitement, the passion. Just a perfect afternoon. Something to watch. Hard to see this time of the day, both hitting and on pop-ups just like that.
Belt has this one, and a couple of fly balls make for 2 out to start the ball game. So it's a weird start time today, and you know, a 4 p.m. start time on the West Coast always brings its challenges. Shadows among them. We won't see those until probably a few innings in. But the wind is always the subject of a lot of curiosity around here. And even though it looks like the flags are blowing out, and they are, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a home run launching pad. 2 gone now for Mookie Betts.
Matty, so much so in 21 years since this stadium building opened, only 21 opposite field home runs by righties.
Yeah, that's an average of about 2 a year. which is crazy. This year, however, the ball's flying around a little more generously than it had in seasons past, and there are a couple of reasons for that, as Betts takes a strike. The outfield fences have been brought in here over the last couple seasons, anywhere from 5 to 8 feet, depending on which spot of the outfield you're talking about. The bullpens, which used to be located down the lines, are now beyond the fence. And the wind patterns are a little different here than they have been in years past. It's 2 balls and a strike to Mookie Betts. 5-time All-Star, just 1 for 8 in the series so far. And the 2-1 from Leon is in for a strike. This is the game time StatCast win measurement. I know it looks real arbitrary, but the different colored arrows denote the different speeds of the wind, and yes, it is blowing out to left. Betts sends it out to right. Plenty of room for Mike Yastrzemski, and it's 3 fly balls that retire the side in order for Dominic Leon. To the bottom of the first, a scoreless start to the afternoon in San Francisco. For National League Cy Young Award honors for good reasons. The best ERA in the sport, 13-2. Most recently coming off a no decision Tuesday against Atlanta, where he threw the ball very well. His ranks are terrific across the board, and he has been a real problem for the Giants, not only this year, but for his career, having never lost to San Francisco. Let's take a look at Gabe Kapler's Giants lineup, brought to you by Taco Bell. 6 left-handed batters, including La Stella and Bell, to lead it off. 4-time All-Star Chris Bryant's been great and versatile since coming over to San Francisco, and Buehler is underway this afternoon. Since the All-Star break, Walker Buehler has been somehow even better than he was before midsummer. 9 starts, an ERA under 1.5. He falls behind Tommy La Stella 2-0.
Yeah, Buehler has all 4 pitches. He's got a fastball, he's got a cutter, slider, overhand curveball, occasional changeup. Watch him against lefties, cutters in off the plate, and upper quadrant of the strike zone. With 2 strikes, he'll either go up top with a 4-seamer or overhand curveball for the punch out. With the righties, more cutters and sliders off the plate.
2 balls and a strike to Tommy La Stella. The Giants already have their bullpen busy as La Stella bounces that one to Muncy at first base. You know, Dominic Leon, an opener, and they get through the side in order. We see this a lot, Alex, that an opener will be used and have a breezy first, and then that might lead to a second or even third inning work. But it appears that the Giants have a formula for tonight. Jose Alvarez is already up in the bullpen, and that gate might be swinging open sooner rather than later.
Indeed, and Gabe Kapler has shown all year that he's very versatile. He'll do the unexpected. But he told us before the game he will actually think about.
Oh, Brandon Belt to the big part of the ballpark. Betts watches, and it's gone. Brandon Belt gets the Giants on the board first at home today.
And Belt coming out hunting early, Matty. 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Looks for it and hunts it to the deepest part of his outfield. And this is a long ways. Belt, who's one of the best secondary hitters in baseball, hits the fastball on the first pitch. And Matt, that's something that you start thinking about at 3 o'clock when you sit with your scouting report and your hitting coaches and you're saying, if I get a first pitch fastball, I'm going hunting. And he did.
First career against Walker Buehler among anybody on the current Giants roster. counts a ball and a strike to Kris Bryant. Well, we profiled Belt when we went on the air. He is 5 years removed from his last All-Star season. His career has been slowed down by a variety of health issues, but this season having one of the best years of his life. And Bryant's tied up. It's a ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, Matt, and talking with evaluators of other teams, they feel like a big difference for Belt. He made an adjustment to get to fastballs like the one he saw then. For years, he struggled against them, popping him up to left field, but the last couple of years he's been getting to them.
Still a ball and 2 strikes on Bryant. You know, Alex, your point on his being a secondary pitch hitter is well taken. So if Buehler was approaching him that way, thinking he could get a fastball past him early in the count, not on this occasion. Belt was hitting just 208 and slugging only 411 against fastballs.
Well, that's a veteran with a game plan and executing it perfectly.
A wave and a miss by Bryant, and the strikeout makes for out number 2.
And you take a guy like Belt, you mentioned 5 years since he's made an All-Star game. He lost 70 points in his batting average from last year, but career high in home runs at age 33. It's a game of adjustments. And their big 3 have done very well adjusting.
I bring up Lamont Wade Jr., who has been every bit responsible for this year's Giants' success as the big 3. 17 homers, 43 driven in. Wade, a guy that was identified by the Giants front office as somebody that could be better based on the way his career started with the Twins. And that is what's happened here in San Francisco. Hit that one hard to right at Max Muncy. No further damage in the bottom of the first. However, for the Giants, their major league leading 202nd homer of the year has made it a 1-0. And the legend of the 10 rings, only in theaters now. First pitch strike and then a 10-point landing. It's the best athlete on the field today.
No doubt.
We do have a pitching change for the Giants. Scheduled. Left-hander Jose Alvarez takes over after Dominic Leone retired the side in order on 13 pitches. The Brandon Belt homer giving the Giants an early lead this afternoon.
Has a fastball, slider, and a change. Will sink it away from righties into lefties and sliders to put him away.
Justin Turner, Corey Seager, Will Smith in the Dodgers half of inning number 2. It does become tricky what the Giants are attempting to do in back-to-back games, in very relevant games, to try to piece together 27 outs with openers and multiple bullpen pieces. Turner's going to roll that one through. A leadoff single in the LA second. A lot of this is born of necessity, Buster. There are some big contributors that are not available to the Giants right now.
That's exactly right. They've had injuries with their pitching staff. Look, the opener strategy is something that a lot of teams use these days. You almost never see a team use it on back-to-back days. That's the really fragile equation that the Giants are going to try to execute today and tomorrow. And by the way, tomorrow they have an afternoon game in Colorado. Kevin Gausman starting for them. They're going to need a lot of innings.
Here's Corey Seager. He has homered in the series, part of a 5-for-8 weekend in San Francisco. You know, the opener thing, and yesterday was the first night that the Giants had used an opener against the Dodgers. The Dodgers have employed that strategy much more often against San Francisco in their 18-game season series. But now that rosters have expanded and there are more bodies in the bullpens, it becomes a little easier to shoulder the load that way.
Indeed, and the Dodgers going with quality today with Buehler, and the Giants trying to match him with quantity. We could see 6 or 7 pitchers for the Giants today, which could be an asset, or like yesterday, the Dodgers got off with 3 runs in the first.
The Dodgers have done it 3 times against the Giants this year. And they've opened games with David Price before he was stretched out, Darian Nunez and Corey Knebel earlier in this series. They're 2-1 in those games.
And Matt, it's hard to have a staff have 6 or 7 pitchers be perfect. And you know, as a hitter, there's challenges because you know you're gonna have 4 or 5 at bats against 4 or 5 different pitchers. So your scout report, you can't go narrow and deep. You're gonna go wide and shallow.
Counts 3 balls and a strike on Corey Seager. And there's ball 4, first and second with nobody out. Well, the season series, as we mentioned, 18 games with the 19th being played today, has just been incredibly even all year. 9-9. The Dodgers win 6 of the first 9. The Giants win 6 of the last 9. Almost run for run, and it's just incredible how evenly matched they've been.
It is incredible, and the truth is, look, the Dodgers are supposed to be here. They won it all last year, Matt, but the Giants weren't. And what they've done is, quite honestly, a miracle. And we've all waited for them to fall off, and what they got out of the gates, they come out playing great after the All-Star game. They ran into a little wall here, but I do think in September they're going to finish strong.
There's Will Smith, first and second, nobody out. Smith has been the Dodgers' leading RBI man since the All-Star break. 33 of his 65 have come since mid-July, and that's the 6th highest total in the National League over that span. And meanwhile, Alvarez has had a little trouble locating the strike zone here, having missed on his last 5 pitches. First and second with nobody out. Missed again.
If you want to beat the Dodgers, you have to throw strikes. They will abuse you, much like the old Yankees lineup. In all the great winning lineups, if you do not come in the strike zone, they will not expand. The reason why they are world champions is because of discipline.
Pitching coach Andrew Bailey, the former American League Rookie of the Year, across the bay with the Oakland A's in his 2nd season as the Giants pitching coach, out for the quick conversation. Well, we've said this a lot about the Dodgers, and having the Giants on this list might come as a surprise to casual fans. Folks here in San Francisco are not surprised, but you've got the 2 lowest chase rates in the game head-to-head here today.
And the poster boys sit right in the middle of that lineup in Max Muncy and Justin Turner. They do not chase, and what you need in October with frontier pitching is you need guys that can control the strike zone, control their heartbeats, and be just as good in October as they are in April or May.
2 balls and a strike. Well, because the Dodgers' reputation as non-chasers is what it is, they've seen the highest percentage of pitches in the strike zone in all of baseball. And then the bad part of that as an opponent is you've got to come into the strike zone against the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's whacked right back up the middle, a base hit. Turner's going to be waved around. He'll score the tying run without a throw or a play at the plate. And it's a 1-1 ball game.
You said it, Matt. They force you into the strike zone and then they punish you. A base hit by Turner, walk, and an RBI single. This is exactly what the Dodgers do over and over again.
Well, that's going to be all for Alvarez. He faces 3 batters, fails to record an out. And the Giants are already on their 3rd pitcher of the game as Zach Littell enters from the bullpen. An early pitching change, and we'll be right back. 4 p.m. Sunday, a week from tonight. Alex Buster and I are in New York for the Yankees and Mets, an 8 p.m. Eastern start time. Well, the first 3 Dodgers to come to the plate have all reached base, and that's prompted the 2nd pitching change of the game for San Francisco, as right-hander Zach Littell will try to cool things off, making his 50th appearance of the year. 4-seam fastball, his primary weapon. and a guy who has had some success stranding base runners. He'll try to strand 2 here with Seager and Smith aboard, a run in and nobody out. Counts 0-1 on Chris Taylor.
Also a slider and a split man, and looking for the punch out or the double play with struggling Bellinger on deck and the pitcher behind him.
You get the timing of the move for the Giants in that Chris Taylor has been at his best against left-handed pitching. And Alvarez, not retiring a batter, was not around for any longer. That one bounces away from Casali. And a free 90 feet for Seager and Smith. Wild pitch puts runners at second and third with nobody out.
And there's a tumbling split. A wild pitch.
So the Giants will play the infield in. I mean, we're talking about 9th inning stuff here in the top of the 2nd inning today. This is so interesting. We talked to Gabe Kapler about this opener strategy before the game. And he said, look, if guys like Dominic Leone can cover high leverage innings all year, why not open in the first against the Dodgers? Because it equates to a high leverage inning when you have to face Turner, Muncy, and Betts in a tie game. Taylor pops it up. That is one of the very few things that'll happen without scoring a run. 1 gone for Littell.
And Matt, with the pitcher Buehler on deck, you have a decision. If you're Gabe Kapler, you can walk Bellinger or you can pitch to him.
Well, you've got the 2019 National League MVP who's batting 8th today. Cody Bellinger in the series is 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. He was a non-starter yesterday. Infield still in close for San Francisco.
And I don't like this here. I would just put him on. And the reason why is I'd rather face Turner with 2 outs and bases loaded and take my chances with Buehler and Turner than having an opportunity to face all 3. You have the infield in. Even a struggling Bellinger becomes much better with that infield in.
Come after him on a ball and no strikes. It's 1-1. I mean, could you have imagined a scenario like this 2 years ago when Cody Bellinger was the most feared left-handed batter on the planet?
Nope.
Hitting 8th, A, and not intentionally walked, B.
Halfway to the plate, Kapler would have had his 4 fingers up and say, go to first base, young man.
Yeah. Again, Walker Buehler waiting on deck.
Yeah, I like Buehler hitting with 1 out with the bases loaded.
Well, this pitch will tell us everything we need to know as to whether or not they're facing him or not. I guess they are. Because it easily could have turned into one of those unintentional, intentional walks.
Sure.
Now it's 2-2.
But when you're struggling, you usually find yourself somehow 0-2 or 2 strikes very quickly. 2-2 is the case here.
Last couple of years have been tough for Cody Bellinger to reclaim that MVP form. That's been his problem. He has had a hard time catching up with the fastball. And there are 2 gone.
This is fastball up. And didn't know exactly how to pitch to Bellinger. Great pitch, great execution.
Last 2 seasons, Cody Bellinger has the lowest average among all qualified hitters in the game against the fastball. It's strike 1 to Walker Buehler. Zach Littell trying to fade a big time jam. 0-2 the count to Buehler. First 3 hitters reach base safely. A run in second and third, nobody out. And Littell is a strike away from limiting the damage at a run. Ball and 2 strikes to Walker Buehler. Got him. How about that for a Houdiniac? An inning that started out looking like it was going to be a big one for LA. Nets them just a run in the second.
Sliders away.
Face Brandon Crawford, Mike Yastrzemski, and Curt Casali here in the second. So a couple of left-handed batters, followed by the right-handed hitting catcher here. A 1-1 ball game. Brandon Belt's first inning homer, countered with by the Will Smith RBI single in the top of the second. It has been an all-star campaign for Brandon Crawford. 3-time all-star at that. 19 homers, 75 runs batted in, and approaching some of his best statistical plateaus in his career. And he's really good when in front in the count, as he is here.
Yeah, man, and the adjustment has been, he's gotten himself into tremendous shape. Talked about him and his wife could not go on vacation, a lot of it because of COVID-19. Did a lot of working out. He looks much different and really playing great baseball on both sides of the ball. Back to his Gold Glove defense and hitting with power, and has made some subtle adjustments at the plate.
A rare 4-pitch walk from Walker Buehler puts the leadoff hitter aboard.
And Matty, if the Dodgers do not win this game, you better circle that half inning, not being able to capitalize on that situation.
Here's Mike Yastrzemski. 21 homers, he and Brandon Belt with a share of the club lead in that category. And Mike Yastrzemski coming off a rough month of August, in which he hit under 200 and struck out 25 times in 27 games. It's been the subject of a lot of conversation before games, with folks asking Gabe Kapler about whether or not Mike is okay down the stretch, and Gabe Kapler has the utmost faith and confidence in his right fielder and said he is absolutely positive that he's going to be fine down the stretch and lead us where we need to go. And I'm quoting Gabe's words. Ball and 2 strikes, the count to Mike Yastrzemski. 21 homers matches his career best total. He hit 21 in his rookie campaign of 2019. He's got Crawford aboard, and Buehler checks in on him. Now, the Dodgers are constantly changing the way they shift. Their overall shift percentage leads all of baseball, and based on the count, they'll move around even more. Yastrzemski sends the ball to center field. Bellinger turned around a couple of times and has to play it off the base of the wall. Second and third with nobody out in the Giants' half of the second. I don't know that Bellinger didn't lose that in the sun, Alex.
He sure did. He definitely didn't get a good jump. We talked about the high sky here and how challenging it can be. But a little lazy breaking ball here, and not a good route by Bellinger. Obviously did not see that ball very well at all. And a combination of the sun and the wind perhaps played a role there. Good base running by Crawford with no outs, making sure that ball hits ground. Second and third, the Giants are set up.
Here's Curt Casali now. And on the first pitch, a high fly ball into center. This is a more routine chance for Bellinger. Crawford's not going to try it. And there's one away.
With one out, you could try it. With no outs, absolutely the right play there. The Dodgers, unlike the Giants, playing the infield back with no outs. The Giants deciding to play the infield in with no outs. And again, the Dodgers will back up. You get a look here what Crawford is looking at. With no outs, you want to be very conservative. With one out, you might mix it up a little bit.
Alex, what are you doing with a hitter here?
You've got the left-handed batting Steven Duggar, and the Giants are already showing a pinch hitter. Darren Ruff's on deck in the pitcher spot. And Buehler comes after Duggar with a strike.
Yeah, Buster, with the pinch hitter on deck, Ruff, it takes the mystery out of it. You pitch to him. With the pitcher on deck, you can flip a coin. You know, in Bellinger's case, they pitched at him because they knew exactly how to get him out. He's obviously struggling, and they attacked the weakest hitter at the moment for the Dodgers.
Outside.
These have been challenging situations for the Giants all year long. With a runner at third and less than 2 out, they have scored the third fewest runs in the game. And in this series alone, they're 4 for 30 with runners in scoring position. It's a ball and a strike to Steven Duggar. And that's up the line, a fair ball. It's going to score them both. Here comes Crawford. Yastrzemski right on his heels. Duggar lost his helmet. He's chugging into third.
Some clutch hitting here. Getting the fastball in. And smoking it down that first base line. Little cutter right there by Buehler. And comes out of the gates. Thinking triple. Getting triple. Infield now in for the Dodgers.
Steven Duggar has turned into something of a kryptonite player for Walker Buehler. With 5 hits against him now, no other Giant has as many as that total. And for a guy making his first big league start in about a month, a huge 2-run triple. And it's LA playing the infield in for Darren Ruff. A ball and a strike to the pinch hitter.
Ruff 0 for 5 last night with 3 Ks. Looking to make contact, preferably get something up in the air and make the score 4-1 for the Giants.
Ruff has hit a career best 14 homers this year. Behind a ball and 2 strikes.
Infield in, expect the Giants to have the contact play, meaning balls hit should be a play at home.
Into center field. That's going to bring in Duggar. 4-1 San Francisco.
And question the pitch, the prior pitch, great sinker in. Ruff looking disconnected, and a little mistake, little lazy curveball here. The easiest pitch to get up in the air and make contact. Poor pitching, great hitting for the Giants.
A huge pinch hit RBI single on a 2-strike count by Darren Ruff. Now the top of the order, Tommy La Stella.
You know, Matt, as a hitter, when you see a sinker like that on the prior pitch, it's impossible to get that pitch up in the air. What you're hoping for, what you're praying for, is a little secondary, a lazy something, either a lazy changeup or a breaking ball, that you can put some wood on it and get it up in the air, exactly what Ruff did.
The Giants have already scored more runs against Walker Buehler in less than 2 innings today than they had in 5 previous starts against him this year combined.
And it's not just the big three, Matt. It's not Bell, Crawford, Posey. They're getting contributions from everybody. And that's what's made this season such a special year for the Giants so far.
It's a ball and 2 strikes to Tommy La Stella.
And some more context on Walker Buehler. In the last 10 starts, Matt, he allowed 10 earned runs in that entire time. The last time he's allowed 4 earned runs, as he has tonight, May 11th.
Out to right field for Betts. Will make the catch. I mean, these are 2-strike counts that we're used to Walker Buehler finishing with punch-outs, and it's not happening here.
And Matt, on a day that Dodgers manager Doc Roberts told us he wants some length. He wants some innings. Ideally, get Buehler to the 7th inning. The way the Giants are grinding these early at-bats and making so much contact, it doesn't look like 7th inning is going to happen.
So here's Brandon Belt. He started the trouble with the 1-out homer in the bottom of the 1st.
Should be a curveball now here, first pitch.
A bouncer to the shortstop, Seager, in the shift to retire the side. But all told, 3 big Giant runs. A 2-run triple by Steven Duggar. Pinch hit RBI single by Darren Ruff. And a 4-1 Giants lead. It's moments. Zach Littell getting out of a 2nd and 3rd, nobody out jam in the 2nd inning by retiring Taylor, Bellinger, and Buehler. And then the Giants add 3 runs to take a 4-1 lead. Giants manager Gabe Kapler joins us as we start at the top of the 3rd. And Gabe, I know that you have long advocated strong bench, strong bullpen, and we've already seen both of those components early on in your lead today.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Zach did a great job for us. I think we know how important it is for us to pump strikes to these Dodgers hitters. They're going to be so selective and make you work really hard. And, you know, Alvarez has been so good at throwing strikes for us thus far this year. Wasn't able to get ahead in counts, and then Z came in and picked us up. And as you mentioned, the bench has really done a nice job for us this year. And in particular, Darren Ruff has been excellent.
Gabe, it looks like your offense has been sniper shooting, very specific attack against Buehler, coming out early, making good contact. Was that something you guys came out thinking to do?
Yeah, no, I think that's right, Alex. And in particular, Buehler attacks the strike zone early in the count. He attacks with his best stuff, so you have to be ready from the first pitch. Then as you get deeper into the count, he's trying to get you to chase. And this is no secret. This is kind of his MO, and he's been really good at it throughout the season, but generally throughout his career. So you're right on. That was the right game plan.
Gabe, I know it's been a lot of fun for you this year, so continue the good times, and thanks for visiting with us today.
Appreciate you guys having me.
Top of the order here in the 3rd against Jay Jackson, who was yesterday's starting pitcher for San Francisco. Started in an opening assignment, and he's fallen behind Trey Turner. 3 balls and a strike.
Matt, you get into the afternoon time of the game where a 4-1 lead can actually look like it's much bigger. The shadows are starting to come into play. You'll see Trey Turner. That ball will disappear a little bit as it gets about 15 feet from the plate.
Jackson's 3-1 pitch is swung on and missed. There's a great example of that right there. A slider that just went into nowhere.
And I guarantee you Trey Turner did not see the last 5 feet. It just disappeared. A fastball turned into a slider in a weak swing.
Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Turner, Muncy, and Betts in the 3rd for Los Angeles. And there's a base hit. That's the 2nd straight inning that LA has opened with a base hit up the middle. Turner did it and then scored in the 2nd. And here it's Trey Turner doing it in the 3rd.
A very good slider, 3-1. A not so good slider, 3-2. A little bit more compact for Turner, not thinking home run, thinking contact. And you can't show great hitters like Turner the same pitch back-to-back. Even though the score is 4-1, I like the Dodgers being active and putting the game in motion early.
Trey Turner, a guy who likes to be in motion, a National League leading 26 stolen bases. Max Muncy, the batter, still looking for his first hit of the series. You know, I'm one to push back on the many times that we're guilty of saying, it's a postseason atmosphere. It feels like a postseason game. And we've said it a couple times today. Yes, it's true in the stands because fans are into it. But it's also playing like a postseason game, right? Where there's no long leash for anybody that may be struggling on the mound. I mean, we're in the third. We've already had 5 runs on 7 hits. There's almost as many hits as there have been outs recorded in this game. It feels like a game deep into a World Series where all pitching staffs are out of gas.
I think you're dead on. I mean, you look at this. 2 teams, tremendous parity, 9-9. 4 runs have been the difference. And I do believe that one of these teams will be in the World Series this year. And I do believe is the one who wins the division that'll end up in the World Series because the wild card route is so difficult.
Well, since we're going in that direction, do you think, and I have my own answer to this question formulated.
Rhetorical, I like it.
Do you think one of these 2 teams, neither one of them wants the wild card? They both want to win the division. It's obvious. The benefits to that are obvious. But is there one team that would fare a little better if it comes to a 1-game win and in than the other?
I think the Dodgers, because of their depth, right? Their depth. They've been there. They were there last year. They understand exactly how to get there. Now the depth with Scherzer and Turner. But look, the Giants have been the class of baseball all year. And, you know, I think a little bit of the struggle this year at this time of the year is going to benefit them late. I remember when Belichick in 2007, when they went 18-0 before losing to the Giants in the Super Bowl, Matt, the one thing that Belichick said in retrospect, he wished he would have lost the game early so they can reset and get started. I think the same can be told for the Giants. A little struggling is good. Veteran team gets a little tired in August. You get to reset and now go for the final sprint and try to bring in the 4th championship in 12 years.
I see your logic there, and the fact that the Giants have this blue chip pitching roster that's made up of guys that are having career years is one thing, and it's great. But the Dodgers guys have a track record in postseason games.
Nope.
And so if you need to win 1 game, and this is why the Yankees are so dangerous in a wild card, because one guy, Garrett Cole, we had a 15 strikeout start this week. And for the Dodgers, if Kershaw's healthy, you've got a choice between Kershaw, Buehler, Scherzer, and that's not to sleep on anybody else on the staff. Like, swing a branch around, you could find a guy that could win a wild card game for you. It's lined out to right. And Muncy continues to hit into bad luck. 1 away here in the 3rd.
Matt, do you think it would come down to a choice probably between Walker Buehler, who, as you and I have talked about, he's one of the front runners for the National League Cy Young Award right now, and Max Scherzer with that great experience, how dominant he's been since he's joined the Dodgers?
Yeah, I think that's the choice, and that's not to sleep on Julio Urias, who was great yesterday and who's been great all year. I mean, these are good problems to have if you're the Dodgers.
Indeed. I mean, how many teams at the deadline can get a pitcher like Scherzer, who's on his way to the Hall of Fame, and a guy like Turner, who's already a world champion? Both guys coming in with hardware. And Matty, you know, I made this conversation with you a little bit earlier today, is that 2 guys coming in with hardware like Scherzer and Turner is wholly different than a guy coming into a world championship clubhouse with no championships. I remember in 04 when I came into a clubhouse where all players, or most of them, had 4 championships already. And I was the one goofy guy with no championship. And that adds a layer of pressure, whether you talk about it or not.
2 balls and no strikes to Mookie Betts, a 2-time World Series champ. Betts lined out to end the 1st. He's got a runner at first with 1 away here in the 3rd. A couple of breaking balls that have missed from Jay Jackson, and it's 3-0 now.
Matt, it was interesting today to hear Dave Roberts talk about Trey Turner and what he brings to a team that has so many guys with World Series rings. What was his word? Edge. Trey Turner bringing an edge to the Dodgers.
Yeah, he said he's the guy with the edge, and it's not that kind of edge that's venting and blowing off steam in the clubhouse. He's a pretty cool character on the bench and in the room with the guys. Wow. Jackson gets a call there.
Turner should be running here 3-1.
Jackson gets back in the count. 3 balls and a strike to Betts. Turner stays put. And Mookie takes ball 4.
Oh boy. The ball gets called a strike, and the strike gets called a ball.
So now Justin Turner, who singled to open the second and ended up scoring the Dodgers run. Been a lot of singles for Justin Turner of late. In fact, just 3 extra base hits in his last 22 games. He's got Turner and Betts aboard with 1 away. His OPS plus, that figures park factors into the equation, is one of the best in franchise history, and we'll go back to the Brooklyn days when you include names like Dolph Camilli, Duke Snider, Jackie Robinson, Jimmy Sheckard. Just a little early and fouled and left. We know that Justin Turner is a franchise record holder in just about every relevant postseason hitting category. They're looking for a ball in the gap here.
You basically have 2 wide receivers, 1 at second and 1 at first, with Turner and Betts plus speed.
Corey Seager waiting on deck for Los Angeles. A ball and a strike to count to Justin Turner. I mean, it's pretty clear that this is going to turn into a Johnny Holstaff game for the Giants. You get an inning out of Dominic Leone to start the game. Alvarez faces 3 batters, can't get an out. Littell got them out of the jam in the second, and Jay Jackson is their 4th pitcher of the afternoon. And we've got 1 out in the 3rd. A ball and 2 strikes to Justin Turner. In the air out to right. And Yastrzemski's under it. He's been busy this afternoon already. Trey Turner advances to 3rd. And there were 2 away.
Introducing the Grubhub Guarantee. Our promise to deliver your order on time within the delivery window and for the lowest price compared to other apps. Or you'll get back at least $5 in perks.
Well, so far the Giants are averaging about 2 outs per pitcher, because here comes Gabe Kapler and he's going to make another change. With the left-handed hitting Corey Seager scheduled, runners at the corners. Another Giant pitching change. They're on their 5th of the game, and we'll be right back. Across the league and exclusive in-depth interviews with baseball's biggest stars. Subscribe now at MLB.com/podcasts. Baseball Tonight podcast with Buster Olney, among the best. Jose Quintana is the latest to pitch for the Giants today, their 5th pitcher of the game, and quite simply he's looking to get 1 out. Runners at the corners, 2 gone, and he's looking to retire the left-handed hitting Corey Seager. He was a waiver claim cut free by the Angels about a week or so ago, and a situational guy that has beefed up the Giants' left side of the bullpen. Well, they've got a bunch of lefties down there as we speak. In fact, 6 of them. We will have already seen a couple here. And here's Seager, who walked in the 2nd inning tonight. As much as Quintana struggled with the Angels and an ERA near 7, he was very effective against left-handed hitting.
Matty, something to watch here. If Quintana throws to first base, especially with 2 strikes, Turner's so far off first base, third base with his speed, he can actually walk home. So somebody should be telling Quintana, hey, I know Mookie Betts is at first, but keep an eye on Turner, because if you go to first, he can go home.
Ball and a strike to Seager, who's had a good series, 5 for 8 with a homer. Nothing but soft stuff. 3 straight curveballs, 2 balls and a strike. But if you closed your eyes, you either think Jose Quintana's throwing 100 miles an hour, or it's Monica Seles serving for match. Three and 1 now. So there's nobody up behind him in the Giants bullpen, and Will Smith is on deck. A right-handed batter would have an opportunity next. Take a look at those splits. That is a situation the Giants want to avoid, having a right-hander in there against Quintana with the bases loaded. Remember, the 3-batter minimum is in play here, so this is Quintana's job to get out of the jam here so he doesn't have to deal with the right-handers up next. Got a chase. Full count now.
So I know we're not in Vegas, Matty, but if you're Seager, you talked about the breaking ball, 3-2. You got to bet the house he's coming with a breaking ball, as Mookie Betts should be in action with 3-2.
Three-two pitch, and he lost him on ball 4.
And Matt Seager was thinking exactly what we were thinking up here, and instead 92-mile-an-hour fastball for a strike. Called the ball.
Oh boy.
I mean, he surprised everyone in the stadium, including his catcher.
It's a pretty good pitch. You think that had to do with the call, the fact that Casali couldn't hold it?
Yeah, I think he gets that pitch if he catches it. The minute you drop the ball as a catcher is disrupting for the umpire, and the umpire will tell you, hey, if you want strikes, catch the ball.
An opportunity for the Dodgers to get right back in it early, down by 3, bases loaded, 2 gone, and Will Smith the batter. He singled in LA's only run in the 2nd. On the first pitch, a fly ball out to right field. Yastrzemski coming in to retire the side. Couple of Giant pitchers in and out of trouble in the top of the 3rd. To by USAA Insurance. USAA Insurance, auto renters and home insurance. A lot of World Series hardware this decade and last between the Giants and the Dodgers. Dodger manager Dave Roberts joins us for a visit. Dave, we have kind of pushed back a little bit on the narrative that this feels like a postseason series. Let us ask you, does it feel like that for you? Because you played in and managed in a bunch of them.
You know, it's got a little bit of that vibe, but you guys have been around long enough that we still have a lot of baseball. I mean, obviously we're playing for first place in the West. So it's kind of got some semblance of that, but we understand there's still a lot of baseball played. But, you know, right now the energy, you can hear it both sides, but a lot of orange and black with that energy. So it's good series.
Doc, what have you seen with Buehler so far tonight?
Yeah, you know, I think early, obviously, he gave up that first pitch to four-seamer that leaked back middle to Belt's nitro zone. I didn't like that leadoff walk to Crawford in the second right there. And right there, Duggar got a cutter down and in, and he cleared the bases right there. And I think for me, situationally, Ruff found a way to move the ball forward to drive in that third run there for them. Fourth run for them, third in that inning, and we just weren't good situationally. So I like our guy on the mound. He's gonna kind of hang in there. They're running through some arms, so we got to kind of just keep grinding and keep it close.
Is it too early, Doc, for you to think about wild card versus division? Is that something that you wait until the final week to discuss?
Yeah, I think so. I think that our goal from the outset was to win the division, and so that's clearly in our power. So that's the only thing on our minds right now, Matty.
We appreciate the time, Doc. Good luck the rest of the way.
All right, fellas.
Lamont Wade Jr. with one gone here in the home half of inning number 3. 4-1 Giants. Dave Roberts knows nothing but managing in the postseason. Came here in 2016, and in this run of 8 consecutive division titles, the last 5 have been authored by Dave Roberts. Wade sends the ball out to left center. Bellinger on the dead run. This one's over his head and up into the stands. I don't recall watching a Walker Buehler start where there's been this much opposing slug this early in the game. 2 doubles, a triple, and a homer.
And this time the fastball, middle. Wade with a very aggressive, as Gabe Kapler told us before the game, a very sexy, aggressive, alarming swing by Wade. Shadows and all. Great contact, loud contact.
And he's in scoring position with one gone for Brandon Crawford, who drew the 4-pitch walk that Dave Roberts talked about a moment ago. It started the 3-run rally in the second. He picks on the first pitch and drives in that run immediately. It's 5-1 San Francisco.
First pitch hunting again, Matt. This time the fastball with a little cut, middle. Crawford walking his first at bat, attacking his second at bat, and the Giants have come out with a fierce, aggressive, offensive approach all night.
I mean, this is the kind of rude welcoming that Walker Buehler is just not used to. Back-to-back doubles with one away. Here's Mike Yastrzemski now. So Walker Buehler this afternoon is making his 89th career start. This is just the 3rd time in his career that he's allowed 5 or more extra base hits in a game.
This is so rare, Matt. 5 runs already and only 5 swing and misses.
And guess what? There is nobody up in the LA bullpen. Dave Roberts told us before the game he'd love it if he could get 7 out of Buehler. And that's not looking likely at this stage, but more is needed than just 2 or 3.
Yeah, one of the rare bad things about winning so many games is you have to use your first-tier bullpens, and they're fatigued, and there's a lot of guys out there that are not available. Roberts hoping for a deep game and a quality game from Buehler tonight.
We talked about this when we went on the air, the fact that Walker Buehler had been next to unhittable in 5 starts against the Giants this year. A different story tonight. And a strike to Yastrzemski. It's 3-1.
You know, sometimes we talk about hitters not being able to see the ball. It's also challenging for the umpire to see the ball.
For Turner, and the second out of the inning. Crawford remains at second now for Curt Casali.
Alex, what's this conversation about? You think about signs?
Maybe a little signs. You have a veteran Crawford at second, but it's just basically bear down right here. Get us back in. They have the bullpen. Get us back in the dugout. Let our offense go to work for you a little bit.
You know, sometimes we'll talk about guys who can't find success with a particular pitch, and they'll have to kind of change the attack. It's been everything today that's kind of gone south for Buehler, because of the 6 Giants hits, they've come off of 6 different pitches.
And this is like playing your varsity rivals. You play each other so many times, going from spring training to in season. And even though Buehler has been dominant, the more you get to see a pitcher, the better your chances are as a hitter. Tonight might be a result of that.
Alex, you experienced that when you were with the Yankees, with the Red Sox, seeing Mariano Rivera over and over and over again. It seemed like it was just a different feel when he faced the Red Sox versus other teams.
Yeah, you get rid of the intimidation, right? And they were a great team, but I remember Schilling and Pedro would not pitch against us in spring training, not to give us a free look, which I thought was smart.
Just to make 6 starts against the same opponent in a year is highly unusual. To get through that stretch undefeated. And Casali sends a ball to left. That's going to drop in, and it's going to score Crawford. Six to 1 San Francisco.
Little breaking ball here. And the Giants not trying to do too much. Only 1 home run today, 6 runs, is by an approach like this, where they're thinking small and big things are happening collectively through the lineup.
Curt Casali had been 0 for his last 17. And he drives in a 2-out run. Here's Steven Duggar. He struck the big 2-run triple in the second.
Guys, when that hit fell, you could see some bodies moving around out in the Dodgers bullpen.
Yep. There's some activity out there. I think Dave Roberts was pushing off the inevitable as long as he could. But it's an afternoon where Walker Buehler is not at his best. I mean, this is not anybody's concern in terms of the game today, Buster, but I'm curious what a day like this does in terms of the Cy Young race. We all had Buehler as the favorite, but that's not to say that Zach Wheeler's not involved. That's not to say that there aren't others involved, and maybe Buehler comes a little closer to the pack after today. That's out to left. We'll have that discussion as we continue, as after 2 more runs, the inning comes to a close. Through 3, 6 to 1 San Francisco. Ballparks throughout the country through the Geico Seats for Service program. Today we welcome Seaman Curtis Ostlund, U.S. Coast Guard Base Alameda. He joined the service in 2018, was sent to Base Alameda. He has been standing duty on the base, helping plan and facilitate base events and assisting with retirements and other ceremonies. Welcome Seaman Curtis Ostlund and his family today. Things have not gone according to plan for Walker Buehler. He is scheduled to bat third as the Dodgers hit in the 4th. A 6-1 San Francisco lead. Jose Quintana will continue on the mound for the Giants, and it'll be Taylor, Bellinger, and Buehler in the Dodger half of the 4th. By way of refresher, if you're just helicoptering in, 2 teams that began the day at 86 and 50, sharing the best record in all of Major League Baseball and tied atop the NL West. After today, 25 left in the regular season.
And Buehler has allowed as many runs in 3 innings tonight as he has the previous 39 innings.
Yeah, we kind of started the discussion about Cy Young odds. We'll go from there to playoff odds. And on opening day, folks at Fangraphs didn't give the Giants much of a chance, but look at how their fortunes have changed till their current standing, where they and the Dodgers are both being given a 100% chance of playing in October. Everybody thought it was going to be San Diego and LA all year, neck and neck, beating each other up. And the Padres have had their trouble. The Giants have stayed steady. You know, and here we are, less than a month left.
Matt, we're in the shadow of Silicon Valley. That looks a little bit like your investment chart. Google, Facebook, Amazon.
Not mine.
Up and to the right.
Swing and a miss by Taylor. And one gone for Quintana.
And Cody Bellinger, you talk about the former MVP. The main thing he's doing, he's just tardy. Late. I mean, this ball is almost on him, and he has not started his move. And when you're struggling, it's easier said than done. But you have to get your foot down if you're Cody Bellinger. You're 6'4", you have long arms, you're right on top of the plate. And as a result, you get a lot of that. Disconnected swings. I'm sorry, Matt.
Yeah, a little bounce through the other way for Bryant. 2 quick outs here for Quintana.
Matt, we talked about him being late. Now you try to over-adjust and jump out there, and then they throw a little wrinkle, and you're just disconnected. I mean, that back knee is on the ground. He's trying to hit that ball in the cove, way in the water. And all he should be thinking about is Mr. Tony Gwynn used to always talk about, let me hit that ball right over the shortstop's head. That's the last thing in Bellinger's mind. At least his actions say water. He should be thinking left center field, low line drive. Think about good contact. Let me hit the ball solid, not far. Solid, not far.
Well, the shoulder surgery that Cody Bellinger had is such that it has taken a lot of greats more than just the required recovery time to come back and refine their stroke. Dave Roberts talked about that with us a number of weeks ago. He's played with a few guys that have had that. Matt Kemp came to mind, and it took Matt a little bit extra time to refine himself. And the hope is that after another season of recovery, an off season of work, Bellinger can put that past him, if not sooner.
I am a huge fan and believer in Cody Bellinger's talent. I actually think I'm going to forecast that next year he'll be back in the MVP, race. But it just takes a little time, a little adjustment, get that shoulder right, and more importantly, get that mind right. And when you get the mind right, that will transfer into mechanics, technique, performance.
And a called strike 3 taken by Buehler. Jose Quintana retires the Dodgers in order in the 4th.
Probably my grandfather. I was always a smaller kid, and so I felt like I always had to try harder. And that was one of the things that probably kept me serious, was that I wanted to prove that, I had what it took to make my dreams come true.
What career highlight have you loved to go back and watch from his time in the big leagues?
I don't remember what game it was, but it was when he made that diving catch over his left shoulder. Guys back in the day did not make diving look very graceful. It looked very painful and like you were really putting your body on the line. So that one I really enjoyed.
Describe the feeling of hitting the ball into the water in your home ballpark.
It's almost indescribable. It's probably one of the coolest things in all of baseball, I think. It is really surreal when you hear the crowd go nuts when you hit a home run, but then they get extra excited when you hit one into the water. So that's how you know it goes in, because you can't see it. So you just wait for the extra crowd noise.
You love to surf. What's the coolest thing you've ever seen out on a board?
I have seen a few sharks in the water. That's a little sketchy, but it's also really cool to experience something like that and to know that, while it is a little scary and you're in somebody else's territory, they are beautiful, graceful animals.
You and I are both products of Vanderbilt University. Do you know the words to the fight song?
Oh, God, I don't.
That's okay.
Do you know?
I don't know the words either.
I was going to put you on the spot after that one.
Shame on you, Buster. Shame on you.
Guilty is charged.
Isn't it something by the Commodores?
No, come on.
Yeah.
Really?
Like a little humor.
By the way, it's like a Vanderbilt reunion here tonight. Walker Buehler went there. He was a freshman when Yastrzemski was a senior. Kirk Casale went there. David Price went there. How about all the Vanderbilt guys here?
That's right. Let's get Sonny Gray on the phone and make it a party. A ball and 2 strikes, the count to Jose Quintana.
Wait, did we mention David Price?
We did.
Perfect. Tells you that I'm listening.
So Walker Buehler hit for himself in the top of the 4th inning, if only because Dave Roberts wants to try to conserve his position player ranks. And he goes to the bullpen here in the 4th. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Quintana. Both of these teams have day games tomorrow. Giants in Denver, Dodgers in St. Louis. So the turnaround is very much on both managers' minds today. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Quintana. Gabe Kapler has watched his lineup have a lot of success early in counts. In fact, this will be the 7th pitch of the at-bat to Quintana, and that makes it the longest at-bat by a Giant so far today. I mean, they jumped Walker Buehler, who's, by the way, ERA jumped from 2.05 to 2.31. And Buster, getting back to that conversation, because we abbreviated it earlier, you know, you're not going to take a guy out of consideration because of one wonky start. But does this allow the rest of the Cy Young contenders, the pack, to get a little bit closer to Buehler?
Yeah, there's no question about it. Look, we thought a month ago that Zach Wheeler was the favorite. He had a couple of ugly pitching lines, pushed his ERA back, and now he may not necessarily be one of the front runners, right? I think Corbin Burns at this point is Walker Buehler's biggest competition for the Cy Young Award.
I think I'd agree with that.
I think it's the best thing that can happen for Buehler. And the reason why is sometimes you need to get the mulligan, you know, the big 8 of your round, get it out of the way. Make your adjustment and then go from there.
Jose Quintana draws a leadoff walk. Wow.
You know, here's Buehler. I mean, just flat. He's a little 4-seamer flat, a little 2-seamer, lazy breaking ball, flat cutter, slider, and then first pitch 4-seamer smoked. All flat, all in the zone, not a lot of life. But like I said, I think this is the best thing that can happen for Buehler. You reset, you go back in the film room. And Buster, I thought you said a wonderful thing, and I actually wrote it down in our weekly conference call. And I wrote it down. You said, here's a guy who is supremely confident, with self-awareness, inquisitive and curious, which can make him make great adjustments. What made you say that, Buster?
Well, just being around him, and of course having heard from so many people since he was in college about his level of confidence and how it's something that is absolutely resolute. Like Walker Buehler, you could see in his body language tonight, he was disappointed with how he pitched, but he's also someone who the next time out, he will be absolutely convinced that he's going to beat the next team he faces with the adjustments, and he always feels like he's in control.
Season high 6 runs on the AARP pitching summary today. That's a double play ball that just took too long to develop. And I don't know that the shadows had something to do with that. That, in addition to the fact that Trey Turner's playing a new position, and there have been some clunky moments defensively for him.
I think a little bit of all of the above, but this was not a double play ball. Runs too well, wasn't really hit hard enough, playing a little bit too deep. But the inexperience is after the tag. He should never throw this ball. But Turner's a guy who has, again, supreme confidence. He made a mistake here on Friday throwing a ball away that cost him a big. But he's a guy that he's so mentally strong. As Doc Roberts said, he doesn't feel bad at all. He's going to come out the next day, press delete, and keep moving forward.
I don't know if he actually tagged him, guys.
Yeah, Gabe Kapler just came out and wants that looked at again, and I think there's a chance this comes back, and we'll show you why here. Trey Turner tagged Jose Quintana with the empty glove hand, and then he got him with the ball and the helmet, so I guess that counts.
Yeah, he's out.
He kind of inadvertently duffed his helmet.
And this is the part, this is unfortunate. This is not the reason why Major League Baseball put in the rule. It is not this part of it.
Yeah, the call.
He got the helmet.
Yeah, it's come back confirmed. I think from one point of view in real time, the Giants dugout saw the baseball in one hand and the glove being applied on the body with the other. It was like the incidental contact that got the out for LA there.
And that's just repetition, Matt. I mean, that's something that if you played second base for a long time, you know exactly where to tag them. Middle of the chest, glove, hand in glove to protect the ball, and then the throw.
Outside.
A ball and no strikes to Brandon Belt, whose 21st homer of the year started the scoring today. One and one. Let's take you back to the bottom of the first.
First pitch fastball, 96. And you start thinking about swinging at the first pitch from the night before, driving to the stadium, and you start visualizing, if Buehler throws me a cookie first pitch, I'm going to get the head out. And he did. Visualize, then realize.
Two balls and a strike to Brandon Belt. That's a double play ball. And that's the end of the inning. First time the Giants have been turned away this afternoon without a score. Phone during the mid-fifth inning commercial break. Head over to ESPN's Instagram Live, where we'll be answering your questions. Be sure to tune into this fast-paced live stream. You won't want to miss it. Maybe we get Klay Thompson to fire in a question. Taken in a ball game in his disguise as a golf fan.
Until he stands up.
Yeah. Oh man, the Warriors need a healthy Klay Thompson back on the floor. A couple of lost years for Klay.
Nice job, Kirk.
Trey Turner leads things off in the Dodgers half of inning number 5. Dealing with a 6-1 deficit here about the midway point this afternoon. Turner, Muncy, and Betts as Jose Quintana continues in relief for San Francisco. Somebody's going to have to give the Giants some length, and it looks like Quintana will be that guy. Back to the pitcher.
Little sinker away, 92. Still not seeing the ball really well.
One gone for Quintana. Now it's Max Muncy. Boy, Jose Quintana has an opportunity after being claimed by the Giants to completely forget about the 4+ months that he had in Anaheim, where things just never went his way. Again, an ERA with the Angels of near 7. Yet to his great credit, and this was something that Angels manager Joe Maddon talked about a lot, he remained a very strong mentoring influence to some of the younger Spanish-speaking members of the Angels staff, and still found a way to contribute even though he wasn't having a lot of success himself on the mound.
Well, in a proven track record, someone in the bullpen is a tremendous weapon for Kepler to have somebody that can pitch 2, 3, 4 innings. And today is a perfect day for Quintana. So far, so good.
His longest relief outing of the year is 3 1/3, and it came in his Giant debut. And he is en route to a longer one here today, as he evens the count to Muncy 2-2. Muncy still looking for his first hit in the series. He's 0 for 9 this weekend against the Giants.
As a hitter, still very challenging to see, with a tough, bright background. Breaking balls especially tough to see. This is what Muncy's looking at right here.
Full count. And Muncy strikes out.
And you see the wave. Very unlike Muncy's swing, not seeing the ball well at all. Late. And this is just a ball you can't see, and you see the reaction. It's a panic swing. I mean, I've seen Muncy have over 100 at-bats over the last year, and I haven't seen a swing like that.
That's a good point.
And he's telling Turner right there, I didn't see it. Can you see it? Maybe we should put on some glasses. I would not be surprised if some of the Dodgers will come out with some bright glasses just to even out the sun a little bit.
0 for 10 with 5 strikeouts in the series is Max Muncy. Now it's Betts with 2 gone.
And Matt, if you and I are teammates and I just took a swing like that, you know, now you start talking, you know, you got to start feeling good about yourself, and you'll say, Matt, don't worry. If I get this guy on a regular night game, I'm going to crush him. I'm going to crush him.
Betts sends a ball to left. A 2-out base hit in the Dodger half of the 5th.
Guys, I wonder, we've been talking about how the Giants trying to go back-to-back openers, using a ton of relievers the last 2 days. You wonder if moving forward now the question or the conversation between Jose Quintana and the Giants staff is, you know, can he continue to pitch as we go along? He hasn't thrown more than 2 1/3 innings in any outing since May 30th. But Alex, you know this. When you get pitchers who get on to later in their careers, a lot of the messaging to the staff is, look, don't worry about my arm. You know, I'll tell you if I need to, you know, to come out, if there's any kind of a problem, you need to come get me. They may want to extend him here.
Absolutely. And look, a guy like Quintana just knows how to pitch. He's been doing it for a long time. It's in there, right? And when you're a veteran pitcher, when you get fatigued, you get even better because you have better movement, more life. It's not about velo. It's about pitching the old school way, which he's doing tonight.
Counts a ball and no strikes to Justin Turner, who has singled and scored the Dodgers' only run today. San Francisco pitching has been great this year. We've talked about their lineup, but no discussion of their overall record is complete without talking about their staff. It starts with throwing strikes. They've got the highest strike rate in baseball this year. They have made opponents hit ground balls all year long, the highest opponent's ground ball rate in the game.
And ground balls is good news. You have Crawford going back to his playing defense like he did back in his Gold Glove days. You have Longoria at third when he's healthy, and Bryant playing an excellent third base so far this year.
3-0 to Justin Turner now. Corey Seager next for Los Angeles. And I would imagine Justin Turner's going to make Quintana throw him a strike before he contemplates swinging the bat here. Down by 5 in the top of the 5th. He is taking all the way. It's 3-1. It's one of those games where the official scorer gets licensed to figure out who gets the win. There's no quality start to talk about. Nobody had a lead through 5.
If Quintana gets through this inning and the Giants win, it has to be him.
It's got to be.
There's a big pitch. You got to throw a strike because Justin Turner does not chase.
The 3-2. Dominic Leone started for San Francisco, through 13 pitches, got through the side in order, and by design was done after an inning. Then it was Jose Alvarez, Zach Littell, Jay Jackson, and Quintana, who's been out there since the 3rd. And that says it all. Turner wants to take time. Betts aboard after the 2-out single. 3 balls and 2 strikes to count to Justin Turner. Dodgers trying to get some of it back in the middle innings, and there's ball 4. Well, with the pennant races heating up, follow @MLB on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and on YouTube, so you don't miss a thing down the stretch. 25 games left for the Giants and Dodgers after this afternoon. Andrew Bailey out again for a visit.
In this conversation here, Bailey's telling Quintana, maybe a little reminder, hey, Seager's a first pitch swinger. Be careful. First pitch fastball, he will jump you. Concentrate. Take your time. Either way, this is your last hitter. Empty the tank, big boy.
Saw the Giant bullpen busy again, and Camilo Doval has been up for a while, so he's ready to roll. It's going to be Seager here that'll face Quintana, lefty-lefty batter. Will Smith would be next, and if it gets that far, we would certainly see the move to the bullpen. Saw for a moment there that one pitch at bat stat that backs up your earlier statement. Seager is aggressive. First and second now with 2 gone. Seager's had a good series. He's had a really good series against left-handed pitching. 4 for 6 with 2 walks. And he's in front 3-0. Sorry, 2-0. Betts and Turner aboard with 2 gone.
It's an indication you're not seeing the ball very well. First and second, you get a fastball right down the middle, 2-0. You don't even flinch to a very aggressive Seager.
That one almost hit him, and it's 3 balls and a strike. Only 4 singles for the Dodgers today. And this from a Dodger lineup that averages over 5 runs a game. The 3rd highest scoring lineup in baseball. Trying to shave a little off that deficit here with 2 out in the 5th. 3 balls and a strike. Full count. Back-to-back full counts now.
And again, if you're reading body language, Seager's telling you exactly what he's feeling. I cannot see the ball. 2-0, middle shot, 3-1 down the middle, not moving at all. Throw him another fastball.
And Corey Seager has walked in all 3 of his plate appearances in this game. That loads the bases with 2 gone.
Matt, he has 3 walks, but very easily could be 2 strikeouts because he got a break right here on this 3-2 fastball. Oof. Just off the plate.
And that's going to be all for Jose Quintana. He leaves with 2 out and the bases loaded. And the Giants are on their 6th pitcher of the game here in the top of the 5th inning. ESPN telecast presented by Taco Bell. Well, the Giants bullpen has been taxed a lot of innings yesterday in particular, and tonight they're already on their 6th pitcher of the game. Previously had not appeared in the series and has made only a handful of major league appearances in his life. He is 24-year-old rookie right-hander Camilo Doval, who's thrown a total of 12 2/3 innings in his big league career. And here we go with Will Smith. Bases are loaded. 2 gone in a 5-run game. And the first one is to the backstop, but it comes back on a hurry, and nobody can advance.
Overthrowing a slider here, first pitch. Juice is flowing.
Huge opportunity here for LA to get back into it with one swing of the bat against a guy with precious little experience in tight spots like this. Will Smith has been their leading RBI man since the All-Star break. Smith had the bases loaded in the 3rd and flied out on the first pitch he saw. This has been a day in Major League Baseball that's seen no fewer than 6 grand slams, including 3 between the Cubs and Pirates. And these aren't even close misses.
And if you're Will Smith, maybe you definitely take 1. You may want to take 2. Force the youngster who's been called up 4 times this year from AAA and his biggest appearance this year right now, make him throw 2 strikes.
Jose Quintana exited after loading the bases with 2 out, and there's a strike. 3-1 to Smith now.
Maybe 1 more, Matt.
I'm with you on that.
Force him to throw another strike. Dare him to throw another strike.
And it's a full count.
Biggest pitch of the game coming, and the runners will be running.
Biggest pitch of the game against one of the hottest hitters in the league. Fans responding by rising to their feet. And the 3-2 pitch. Smith fouls that one away. Even to hit a foul ball on top of the cove is something of a feat for a right-handed hitter. The next 3-2 home. He missed for ball 4. Curt Casali couldn't believe it. A 99-mile-an-hour heater that walks in a run.
And Tony Randazzo, the 22-year veteran, says he missed. Not sure about that, but the problem is when you're a young pitcher and you're all over the place, and that's a strike. But to Tony Randazzo, credit is when you're all over the place and your first pitch is a wild pitch, you're just not expecting strike. The Dodgers cut a big break there.
Chris Taylor now just 1 for 11 in the series, and go back a little farther, 2 for his last 28, but he's got a chance here with the bases loaded and a run in, and it's a ball and no strikes to the 2021 All-Star. He has been a terror with the bases loaded in his career, and it's another visit from Andrew Bailey.
Alex, you've seen how much he struggled to command that breaking ball. Chris Taylor crushes fastballs. You're assuming that that's probably top of mind for him right now, right?
Yeah, and you just don't worry about the breaking ball because he's going to miss by so much. It shouldn't be a threat. You'll see it early. It's never a strike. So hone in and be a sniper shooter here. Look for the fastball, middle, and get on top of it.
Let's go back to the 3-2 pitch to Will Smith.
And I mean, this is strike 3. But Tony Randazzo, home plate umpire, is not expecting strike. And you see the reaction. And that could be devastating for any pitcher, especially a young pitcher. Let's see how he reacts.
Taylor takes a strike. It's 1-1. Giant pitching has walked 6 Dodgers in this one so far. And again, we're only in the midway point of the game. A ball and 2 strikes. However, of the 6 walks, none of them have come around to score. The bases are loaded here, each of them aboard via the walk. Dave Roberts would like to take advantage of at least one of these gifts.
They're still looking for the big hit. Dodgers 1 for 6 with man in scoring position.
That one gets away from Casali, not far enough away for anybody to advance. It's 2-2.
And again, we talked about Tony Randazzo having a hard time, hitters having a hard time, catchers have a hard time too. That's a strike. If you catch the ball, you have a chance. And a lot of times you turn around and say, hey, Tony, where was that pitch? Tony will say, if you catch it, it's a strike. If you can't catch it, I'm not going to call it a strike. Get used to it. Fair game.
Taylor fouls that one away.
Thank you.
Each of the previous 3 plate appearances have gone to a full count. In fact, 4 of the last 5 have been full counts. Got him. The Giant bullpen bends, but it doesn't break. Only 1 for LA as the bases are left loaded in the 5th. It's time for tonight's 5th inning Fast Talk presented by T-Mobile. Head over to ESPN's Instagram Live now. Your next visit to the ballpark, buy and manage game tickets, redeem offers, access exclusive content, and more. Download the Ballpark app today. Justin Bruihl continues on the mound for the Dodgers. He was able to set San Francisco down without a run in the 4th. The first time that had happened today. So Justin given a chance to continue in the 5th. Bryant, Wade, and Crawford here for San Francisco.
Man, when you think about Chris Bryant, he's been a perfect fit in the San Francisco Giants clubhouse. And when we asked Gabe Kapler today before the game, he mentioned the versatility. He can hit 1 through 5. He can hit 5. He can play in 5 different positions, maybe 6. We've played him in center. In many ways, he's like a queen in the chessboard. There's so much you can do with him.
And Bryant strikes out on 3 pitches. A strikeout for Justin Bruihl, and there's 1 away. Hey, this isn't the season finale, but it's the last regular season game between these 2 teams. Let's flash you back to the season finale in 1999. The final game at Candlestick Park. Tommy Lasorda and the Dodgers were the opponents. Tommy came out for a victory lap. Somehow, with his name spelled incorrectly on his jacket. There it is, Lasadra. And I think Mike Krukow and Dwayne Kuiper, and Kruk is here today working Giants radio. They were the first ones to notice that, and I don't know if that was a goof. I don't know if it was an honest to goodness mistake. Nope. But you know, Tommy used to milk the moment. And to hear them tell the story, he came out because he knew he got booed at Candlestick as he did here, and he loved it. He loved the attention. But the joke was on him on that day.
I'll tell you, I must have spelled that. I'm a terrible speller. And talking about that crew for the Giants, that's one of my favorite crews in all of baseball. These guys are just terrific.
There's Kruk on the air, calling Giants games for so many years, part of the fabric here.
Mm-hmm.
and working with our colleague Dave Fleming here at ESPN, who's also been here for such a long time. 2 balls and 2 strikes as the count to Lamont Wade Jr. Wade has doubled and scored tonight.
Nope.
Full count to him now, 3-2.
Yeah, those guys are so that broadcasting team, Alex, to back up what you're saying, Mike Krukow and Dwayne Kuiper. I'd love to see those guys get honored by the Hall of Fame at the exact same time.
Love that. It's an interesting thought. It's a nice, nifty one-hop play by Muncy. I think that both of them are in line for the honor for sure, and the idea that they'd both go in there together is a great one. And speaking of the Hall of Fame, Derek Jeter, Marvin Miller, Ted Simmons, and Larry Walker join baseball's elite at the 2021 Hall of Fame induction ceremony live from Cooperstown Wednesday on MLB Network and on MLB.com. It was the class of 2020 whose induction ceremony was delayed due to the pandemic, and it's all happening this week in Cooperstown. 2 gone now for Brandon Crawford. No drama around Derek Jeter, certainly. There was some drama around Larry Walker, who'd been on the ballot a number of years previously, and a lot of discussion around Marvin Miller, who certainly made an impact on the game. That's without question. Former head of the Players Association, who ushered in modern free agency. Crawford bunting, what a beauty. Look at that. Oh, man.
Oh, my.
I mean, that's a video game bunt. You can't do it any better.
I mean, that is a masterpiece. I mean, the double was good. I bet you he's going to feel much better about this. And just smart baseball. You just love a lot of the things the Giants are doing. They're using all their clubs in their bags. I mean, it looks like a perfect putt. Oh, a thing of beauty.
Two gone now for the grandson of a Hall of Famer, Mike Yastrzemski. And as we're talking about the Hall of Fame, and Buster, we had discussed this a little bit just kind of amongst ourselves this afternoon when we got to the ballpark. It's kind of a Hall of Fame theme among uniformed personnel in this matchup. A lot of guys who are destined for Cooperstown.
Absolutely. You talk about Clayton Kershaw, multiple Cy Young Awards, and MVP. You talk about Max Scherzer. He's going to get in. You know, both those guys to me should be unanimous selections. Albert Pujols on the Dodgers bench. He should be a Hall of Famer. Buster Posey to me is a Hall of Famer. You know, peak catcher, best in the game for a lot of years. I think Brandon Crawford, actually someone I could see the Veterans Committee taking a look at. Walker Buehler, I think, you know, potentially a guy you talk about. You see Mookie Betts, to me, is on a Hall of Fame trajectory at this point. Kenley Jansen, the Dodgers closer. He's going to finish with enough save where he's going to be in consideration.
Yeah, I think some candidacies are better than others, but I agree with all the discussion. Crawford runs, throw to seconds in time to get him. Will Smith threw a perfect strike. Crawford caught stealing to end the 5th. On to inning number 6 in San Francisco, and the Giants continue to lead 6-2. This telecast of Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell is brought to you by Ford, built for America. To the top of inning number 6, back with Alex Rodriguez and Buster Olney. Matt Vasgersian in San Francisco in a 4-run game, and life is good aboard the lovely Martha. Now, life is good anywhere in McCovey Cove on a day like today, albeit a bit breezy. But folks in San Francisco were sturdy enough to withstand the wind, something that's a way of life up here.
Man, I don't know about you, but this is my favorite baseball stadium. And even taking it a step further, one of my favorite sports venue around the world.
Oh, wow.
You got mountains over left field. You have the Cove over right field. Not a bad seat in the house. Beautiful day, great weather. What else can you want?
I agree. check, check, check. 0-2 the count to Cody Bellinger. Hits it right into the shift. And there's one gone.
Front of the box, watch the fastball.
Back of the box, watch the curve.
Front of the box.
Back of the box, D. Back of the box.
Strike 3.
You'll get it next time, son.
From makes me laugh. Every little league memory I've ever had. Hey, what are you reeling in? Are they pulling anchor? Or are they pulling in like a huge great white shark out there? You got to go back out there and pay off that shot. Some drama. Billy McKinney is the pinch hitter for Los Angeles, batting in the number 9 spot. He takes a strike. One out, bases empty, top of the order. Trey Turner waiting on deck. Gabe Kapler trying to coax an additional inning out of the rookie right-hander Camilo Doval. What are they doing, Alex? You familiar with anything that has to do with the nautical world? Are they pulling up anchor or an enormous fish? What do we got?
I know nothing about fishing or boating.
No?
Besides just laying there.
You got people that do that for you?
No, I just don't know how to fish. I'm a terrible fisherman.
Okay.
You know, Mariano, who grew up fishing and playing soccer, he's a world-class, Mariano Rivera, great world-class fisherman.
Really?
He always tried to get me out there on days off. I said, Mariano, I barely know how to swim. I don't know how to fish. I'm a liability out there.
I'm a little concerned that those folks aren't going to be able to get where they're trying to get because I think they're stuck. And a called strike 3 taken by Billy McKinney. And now Doval has a little bit of momentum.
You know, if you're the Dodgers, you've had, you know, an up and down season, but you're still right at the top. You've been dominant, you know, 9 out of the last 10 years. But there's a few question marks. Obviously, you want to get Buehler back on track. That's not going to be an issue. Clayton Kershaw, you want to make sure he's healthy, and I know he pitches on Tuesday. But you got to get Bellinger right. And the question is, can the Dodgers repeat without their former MVP in 2019? I mean, he's hitting, you know, 165 or so and hitting 138 versus fastballs. For the last 3 weeks, that should be a focal point. And the Dodgers have to answer the question, is he going to be part of the solution or part of the problem for 2021? We know long-term he can win a couple more MVPs, but can we get this young man healthy and right mentally and physically?
Ball and 2 strikes to Trey Turner. Well, you know, the depth of the Dodgers is such that there's always a next guy, and it's not just a AAA call-up. It's usually a veteran, an all-star, and in the case of their outfield, they took a hit yesterday when A.J. Pollock went down. The hope is that he's back by the end of the season, but they're looking at perhaps 2 to 3 weeks with the hamstring injury that he suffered this weekend in San Francisco. That's a big loss. Ordinarily, you'd have the firepower to use Bellinger sparingly, but now with Pollock down, he's pressed into duty perhaps more regularly. 2-2. But a broken bat flare that's going to drift foul.
Alex, you touched on some Clayton Kershaw news. He threw today, and the Dodgers were very encouraged by what they saw. He's now scheduled to make a minor league rehabilitation appearance on Tuesday, throw 3 innings there. And look, guys, you know, 2-3 weeks ago, I was hearing stuff around the Dodgers like, boy, we don't know if Clayton's going to make it back. Dave Roberts told us today he's optimistic that Kershaw is going to be able to help them down the stretch. In fact, he said, you know, you've heard of cautiously optimistic. No, I'm optimistic based on what they saw today.
Yeah, he said plain old optimistic. Yeah.
And it's great news for the Dodgers.
2-2.
And the reason why a guy like Cody's so important and hard to replace, because he's also, you know, outfield who can play Gold Glove caliber defense. He's a speedster. He can actually run, and he has power. He's only 1 of 3 lefties in that lineup, along Seager and Muncy.
Full count pitch, and Turner sends a fly ball the other way for Yastrzemski. Doval gets the Dodgers in order in the 6th. Anchor is still down, and it's still 6-2 Giants.
One settled in Tinseltown. The other chose the city. SoCal versus NorCal. These teams, these towns, they don't share much anymore. One thing they do share, the same dream.
Two best records in baseball at the start of play tonight, tied atop the NL West. It's a 4-run game as we enter the bottom of the 6th inning tonight. Their series and season finale today. And the Dodgers have David Price in from the bullpen after 2 scoreless innings from Justin Brule. First pitch to Mike Yastrzemski. He bunts his way aboard. Second bunt single of the game by the Giants.
And why not? If they give it to you, take it. Very effective. Bringing the bump with you. Left on left. Smart play. Clever play.
Bunt single by Brandon Crawford in the 5th. A first pitch bunt single by Mike Yastrzemski here in the bottom of the 6th. And that'll bring up Curt Casali. The Giants now have 15 bunt hits this season. That's the 4th highest total in the game. Curt Casali struck a big RBI single with 2 out in the 3rd. Snapped an 0 for 19. Six runs on 9 hits for the Giants. 2 runs on 4 hits for Los Angeles. All 4 Dodger hits have been singles today. One and one.
You often hear players complaining about the shift and, oh man, that guy shouldn't play there. That would have been a base hit. But you don't beat it with power. You beat it with finesse. Not with wood, but with brain. And that's exactly what the Giants have done here twice tonight.
And that's lined into left field over Turner into the corner. Casali's on his way to second. Got in there with a nifty slide, and the Giants are set up with runners in scoring position and nobody out in the 6th. It's a Commodore on Commodore crime. A couple of Vandy guys.
I mean, this is a thing of beauty, and the Giants are playing exceptional baseball. This is the kind of baseball that drives a team and a defense crazy. They're bunt, they bring you in, Turner's in, now they hit it by you, they hit it in front of you. Terrific baseball by the Giants.
You know what it took for Curt Casali to come around offensively? We talked about how he'd been struggling at the plate. Is to face Vanderbilt guys. A hit against Buehler, a hit against Price.
This is a Buster only delight. Vanderbilt all night long.
And Steven Duggar has to bail out. First 2 games of the series, the Giants were 4 for 30 with runners on base. They're 4 for 6 tonight.
The Giants just have a matchup for anything you throw at them. Doc Roberts told us today the strength of their team is there are no weaknesses. Longoria on deck to face the left-handed Price.
Dodgers infield is in, and Duggar pops it up. Oh, Seager and Turner collided. That could have been bad.
And nothing wrong there. As an offensive player, you own the real estate over the bag, so no harm, no foul. And you see the second base umpire saying safe, meaning all good, fair game. Just
yeah, Casali even ducked down to oblige a little bit. The hardest part about this was that Seager and Turner were tracking each other. And again, this is part of Trey Turner's learning curve on the other side of the bag.
And with Longoria here, you may walk him to face the left-hander.
They'll do just that. The intentional walk has already been signaled. Longoria's passed.
And we talked about mixed matching and Kapler just being very aggressive. Here comes the pinch hitter.
So it's the top of the order, and Thairo Estrada is going to bat for Tommy La Stella. That's going to bring Mark Prior out to the mound. So we really haven't even had a chance to set up David Price, who enters the ball game, gives up that first pinch bunt single, and now has the bases loaded with one away. Price is making his 34th appearance of the year for the Dodgers. 11 of the 33 have been starts. He's 4-2 on the season. And David Price, who did not pitch last year, opting out during the pandemic shortened season. Really had to get stretched into starter shape this year. It wasn't like he hit the ground running and was able to post up and go 6-7 innings every 5 days. A guy who has accomplished just about everything in this game. 5-time All-Star, World Series champ, Cy Young Award winner. And here's Thairo Estrada now with the bases loaded. Great numbers with the bases loaded for his career, albeit in limited exposure. Estrada came back to the big leagues, recalled from AAA on Wednesday. He has been up and down 5 times this season, and that is a big part of the Giants' success this year. Entering Saturday, the Giants had made roster moves in 9 of 10 days.
Good pitch.
Popped him up. The jam shot pop up for Muncy. And there are 2 gone with the bases still loaded.
Excellent pitch here by David Price. The cutter going into the right-hander. You see the cut action right there. Well done by Price.
So now Brandon Belt. He has homered, grounded out, and then grounded into a double play in 3 trips to the plate today.
One of the best breaking ball hitters in the major leagues.
(11 of the 21 homers for Belt have come on breaking balls this year, and that represents one of the highest totals in the game. His homer against Walker Buehler today to start the ball game came on a fastball. Up the first base line for Muncy to get David Price out of a jam. Bases left loaded in the home half of the 6th. On to inning number 7. Still a 6-2 Giant lead. Cross respond to and help people recover from this disaster. Still a 6-2 lead for the Giants. Thairo Estrada takes over at second base for Tommy La Stella, the man for whom he pinch hit. And Max Muncy is the first to face veteran left-hander Tony Watson, who's called on by the Giants here in the top of the 7th inning. 50 appearances between his time with the Giants and Angels, team he started the season with. He's been very good since coming back to San Francisco in his second tour with the Giants after spending 2018 through 2020 seasons here. He gets Muncy, Betts, and Turner here in the Dodgers half of inning number 7. And Muncy sends the ball the other way. There's 1 gone. Earlier today, the San Diego Padres walked one off against the Astros. Jake Cronenworth, who has been outside of Fernando Tatis, their steadiest player, was the hero with a walk-off homer, and San Diego is back in that wild card picture. Yes, they have lost what looked like a comfortable foothold, but the Padres are still very much alive. One gone here for Mookie Betts. So the current standings, including this one in progress, in the wild card, it's the Padres a half game better than Cincinnati. Our current standings in the hunt for October, brought to you by Geico. You know, every time we see Padres highlights that don't involve Fernando Tatis Jr., it reminds you that they are deeper than just being a one-man band. But it also kind of prompts the discussion, Buster, on the National League MVP race, because it was thought that it was Fernando Tatis Jr.'s to lose. However, he's lost a lot of playing time with multiple IL stints this year. Who else is involved in that discussion beyond Tatis?
I really think it's wide open. I mean, because I think Trey Turner of the Dodgers is in the conversation. Max Muncy of the Dodgers is in the conversation. Freddie Freeman, Joey Votto of the Reds. I really think it's going to come down to who finishes really strongly. You remember that year where Jake Arrieta was incredible in the second half, and down the stretch it was he and Zach Greinke and Clayton Kershaw, and it really came down to who pitched the best down the stretch. I think that's what's going to happen with the MVP. Which of these candidates sees it by the throat and plays really well in the last 4 weeks?
Yeah, I agree, Buster. I do think it's wide open, and I think the winner will raise his hand here in the next few weeks. But if the Phillies end up well, I mean, it's hard to believe that I'm going to say this, but I think the underreported Bryce Harper has to get some votes because he's been terrific this year as well.
Could I add another dark horse candidate into the mix here? Because Austin Riley has been great in Atlanta, and I know that Freeman gets more of the headline, but if there's going to be maybe another name that seeps into the minds of voters, Austin Riley's been great this year.
Okay, I like that.
You know, without he and Freeman, they don't overcome the loss of Acuna and Ozuna the way they have. 0-2 the count to Justin Turner. A ball and 2 strikes now. Just 4 singles tonight for the heavier hitting Dodger lineup. And Watson makes quick work of Los Angeles in the 7th. They're up and stretching at Oracle, with the Giants still on top by 4. Lamont's right about that. His first year as a Giant, he picked that one up pretty quickly, something that fans have known for years. The Seagulls around here are on clocks, and thanks to Lamont Wade Jr. for wearing a mic for us. Hey, coming up on ESPN, great Major League Baseball action all week. Tampa Bay and Boston tomorrow at 1 p.m., followed by the Giants and Rockies, their first of a series in Denver for San Francisco. And a week from tonight, Buster, Alex, and I are in Flushing, Queens for the Big Apple Battle of Subway Series renewal between the Yankees and the Mets. David Price continues in relief for Los Angeles today. He gets Chris Bryant, followed by Lamont Wade Jr. and Brandon Crawford. A 6-2 lead for San Francisco. They have not trailed in this game. As close as the Dodgers had it after the opening pitch was when they tied it at 1 in the top half of the second. 5 unanswered by San Francisco since. They have outscored, outhit, and outslugged the Dodgers tonight. And it's a ball and 2 strikes to Chris Bryant. The Giant lineup has done a little bit of everything tonight.
Outside.
2 balls and 2 strikes. 6 of Bryant's 24 homers this year have come since the trade to San Francisco. A power infusion. One of the most versatile players in the league, and a guy that, in Gabe Kapler's words, gives you a big-time presence in the middle of your order. Not something that you're used to seeing from a guy who's, let's face it, been a utility defender. He's played everywhere this year. And the 3-2 pitch to him misses inside for ball 4. A little bit more on that thought, Alex, that the Giants have done a little bit of everything tonight.
Everything indeed, and it's been very impressive. I mean, it starts with the long ball on the first pitch fastball here to Belt. And then a couple nice bunts. One to third base, one to first base. You know, and on top of that, you add 4 doubles, you add a triple, you know, walks. And they're doing so many things that's so impressive. I mean, the point I want to make here is simple. I mean, if you look at the Dodgers have 3 bunt singles all year long. The Giants have 2 here tonight. And think about it in golf. The regulation, you're allowed 14 clubs. I never understood why you would only use 11 or 12. And for the Giants story this year, I mean, it's a double whammy. They can lead the majors in home runs and bunts. And that sounds like a winning formula to me, and one that will play really well in October.
Counts 0-2 to Lamont Wade Jr.
There is nothing better than before you start a series or a postseason series. You know, Gene Michaels, the great late Gene Michaels, used to come in and he would tell us some absolutes. For example, this team would never bunt. This team chases all the time. And when we hear those absolutes, it makes you as a defender relax. If you don't ever have to worry about a bunt as a third baseman, my gosh, it's like going to the park. But we used to play the Minnesota Twins, we used to play the Red Sox, and they would do everything, a diversified approach. Exactly what the Giants are showing here today. This is why they have 3 championships in 11 years, and it could be the reason why they win their 4th.
Counts a ball and 2 strikes to Lamont Wade Jr., a guy that can give you that versatile platform, hit for power, drive in runs, steal bases. And caught looking here, a called strike 3. A little bit more on the homers, because as we've talked about a couple of times, the Giants lead the National League in home runs. 202 for the year, second to Toronto in all of baseball. 60 multiple home run games. They've got 10 guys with 10 or more, and over half of their runs have come via the homer. That's the highest percentage in the game. Yet their home run leader has hit only 21. And of course, the last Giant to hit 30 in a season, you got to go back to 2004, Barry Bonds.
Wow.
1 out, 1 on now for Crawford.
Matt, you have to go back to 1954 and 1972 was the last time the Giants led in home runs.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, they've got 25 games left after tonight. Their single season team home run high is 235. And that was in 01 when Bonds hit 73. So, I mean, Barry did all the lifting then. They're on a pace now to finish with 239. So, you know, on a pace for are 3 very dangerous words in sports. I get it, but that's the math. And maybe they set a new franchise record this year.
Yeah, and just a few years ago, Matt, they were in the very bottom of the 30 league team, you know, 26th, 27th. And you got to give, you know, Gabe Kapler and his staff a lot of credit.
Jam shot, broken bat. And Price, covering well, is able to get the out at first base. 2 gone.
And what I think Gabe Kapler's done so well You know, 9 out of his first 12 hires did not play in the major leagues, which is very impressive. You know, the other part is, you know, if you look at the data, when they came in, they were like 27th in chase rate. And now they're in the top 2 or 3 teams of not chasing. So give them a lot of credit. They've used data and analytics, but they're also playing the game. And today he admitted to us, I've grown as a manager. I'm actually watching the game a little bit more and reacting and using my gut.
Yeah.
And good for Gabe Kapler.
Yeah, he was real transparent with us earlier. And take a look at their team photo this year. I mean, there's almost as many coaches as there are players on the Giants this year. Ron Wotus is the senior member of the staff. He's been here since '98. Their current third base coach, and he's been a part of the organization for much longer than that, having managed in San Jose, places like Shreveport, Louisiana, Phoenix back in the day before it became a major league market. And Ron Wotus has the Giants in his blood. He's the last remaining link on the coaching staff, that is, to the previous administrations.
And that could be very debatable, Matt. Is having 3 pitching coaches and 3 hitting coaches a good thing or a bad thing? Well, the Giants are proving that for them, it works.
Oh.
2 balls and no strikes, the count to Mike Yastrzemski. You know, fans here, it's funny because with every kind of managerial change, there's some hand-wringing. And I think for fans in every market, when you have consistency in that managerial office, it's comforting. So Gabe comes here, and it's a Herculean task to replace Bruce Bochy. Let's be honest, that ain't easy. Guy that won 3 World Series titles and was here for a decade. As beloved as Boch was, I think Gabe has made a lot of fans here in a year and a half. And why wouldn't he? The success that this team is having in 2021. But when Dusty left, they missed Dusty. When Felipe Alou left, they missed Felipe Alou. It's just kind of what happens when you fall in love with your manager. And there's ball 4 to Yaz.
This is a man's world.
Without men, there is no future.
Dave Roberts coming out to make a pitching change. 2 out, 2 on, and Los Angeles goes to the bullpen. We'll be right back.
No worries in the world right there.
What are we doing wrong?
Exactly.
Shane Green is the new Dodger pitcher. He takes over for David Price. 2 out, 2 on here in the 7th. Green pitched on Friday in the opener. It took him 22 pitches to get 2/3 of an inning of work in, but he did pitch scoreless relief in the opener. And try to close the door on a micro rally here against Curt Casali.
Yeah, fastball, cutter, slider, change from Green.
Up.
Giants catcher has had a big day, and anytime the Giants can win and get productivity out of the catcher's spot, while Buster Posey enjoys a rare day off, it's a big deal around here. Casali's been very good today, 2 for 3 with an RBI. 2-0. We were talking about Bruce Bochy earlier and the big shoes he left behind for Gabe Kapler to fill. And I know, Buster, you've been in touch with the future Hall of Fame skipper recently.
That's right, Matt. I texted with him today, and he's not ruling out the possibility that he could return as manager. And there is a lot of speculation in the industry that Bruce Bochy will be managing some team in 2022. The reason for that is, Matt, is that I think around baseball there have been some first-time managers who have struggled. That's the perception. Small market, big market. Bruce Bochy, certainly a lot of success in the past. He's 66 years old. He would have to put off that induction speech he's going to have to make at Cooperstown someday.
Yeah, I think he'd gladly do that. 3 balls and no strikes, the count to Casali.
And I think it's smart, Buster. I mean, Bochy's a tremendous asset for any organization. Obviously, the work that he did here and the Padres, And look, with La Russa coming back and the success he's having, I think there's a formula of bringing some of the great veteran managers back. Another great asset is Buck Showalter, who could be one of the best 5 managers in the game and is sitting at home. That might be a formula that may come back a little bit.
Full count now, 3-2 to Casale.
Well, there's some teams that are out there that are in win now mode, and bringing in a manager who has experience could be really attractive.
Well, October is all about handling the big pressure, handling the bullpen, and slowing down the heartbeat. I mean, Bochy, Showalter, you know, there's a lot of guys that are out there that can be very helpful.
Full count pitch. And Casale hits it in the air. That one's slicing out of play. Well, Buck Showalter, at least for the next few months, is happy being home because he can watch Mississippi State football. But once spring training starts, I'm pretty sure he pines to get back out there, as Bruce Bochy might. And I think we should say that of the teams that might be interested in bringing someone like that around, the Giants would not be one of them, just because Gabe has done such a good job and he's going to be here for a long time.
Indeed.
Full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes to Casale. Giants looking for some add-on success in the 7th. And a called strike 3 taken by Casale to retire the side. A couple of Dodgers combined on a scoreless 7th. ESPN telecast presented by Taco Bell. Take a look at our game track, brought to you by Geico. Brandon Belt started the party on the home side with a home run in the bottom half of inning number 1. Part of a 6-run Giant attack, an uprising, if you will, against Cy Young frontrunner Walker Buehler, who allowed a season worst 6 runs today in a short one. It's Tyler Rogers, the latest to work out of the Giants bullpen. He is the 8th Giant to pitch in this game, and generally speaking, you see 8 pitchers in the box score for a side, and that's not the side that has the 8th inning lead. But that is exactly the case here tonight. McCovey Cove Dave, apparently, because it says so right there on his shirt.
Very excited.
And a bouncing ball that will retire Corey Seager. Nothing makes Giant fans happier than beating the Dodgers. And though it didn't mean anything in terms of the postseason, final day of the 1982 season, Joe Morgan wins it for San Francisco. Ball over Rick Monday's head. The Giants took the lead, went on to win the season finale 5-3, knocked the Dodgers out of any postseason hopes. And if it doesn't mean the Giants play in the postseason, the next best thing to happen up here is to ruin it for Los Angeles.
And Matty, I'm not sure which one is more rewarding, sending excuse me, your rival home like Morgan did, or actually you advancing.
Of course, the late Joe Morgan, one of the many Hall of Famers who we lost recently. Great play by Chris Bryant. Wow.
What a terrific play by Chris Bryant, lunging to his left with a great internal clock, taking his time, poised, and a strike across to Belt. And we talked about this guy, how underrated he is for all the things he can do. Maybe the most unique player in the game, if you take away Ohtani, of course, but a guy that can play 6 positions. He can hit 1 through 5. He truly is like a queen in the chessboard for Gabe Kapler, and is the guy that's going to be very much sought out in the free agent market.
2 gone, and now it's Cody Bellinger's turn, and rather Chris Taylor's turn to try to keep things alive here for the Dodgers.
You know, Matt, a lot of times, you know, front offices like the Giants don't get enough credit for all the great work they've done, but even a guy like Chris Bryant fits this clubhouse like a glove. I mean, you have the 3-headed monster with Posey, Crawford, and Belt, but it could be the 4 horsemen. I mean, Bryant is made just from the same DNA, workmanlike, blue collar, quiet, and just goes out and does his job.
Giant pitching has retired the last 9 Dodgers that have come to the plate, with some help, of course, from Chris Bryant and company. Tyler Rogers, by the way, appearing for the 67th time this year. His number's been called often. Only Yusmeiro Petit across the bay with the A's has made more appearances in the game this season. Love the note on the release point. About a foot off the ground. Coming at you from underneath. And a fly ball for Mike Yastrzemski will retire the side in order. On to the bottom of the 8th. All Giants in their series and season finale with LA tonight. Left-hander Andrew Vasquez is quite a story. He will appear for the 2nd time this season tonight. A guy who was a freshman All-American at UCSB. Then decided to quit baseball after his junior year. Went to small Division III Westmont College, also in Santa Barbara. Came back to form, drafted by the Twins. Got off to a great start with them. Couldn't get off to another opportunity after a couple of bad outings. Thought he was finished. Was going to be a substitute teacher. This year in the independent league, the Dodgers traded for him. Now he's back to his dream, pitching in the big leagues. Trials and tribulations of a guy trying to earn his living as a Major League Baseball player.
Just love that. Love those stories, man. I mean, this is why it is the greatest game in the world. And for those who are out there fighting and, fighting for their lives for one more opportunity, this is the kind of guy that can inspire you. If him, why not you? So don't give up. Keep playing baseball.
Strikes out Steven Duggar on 3 pitches.
Good breaking ball there.
One gone for the pinch hitter. It'll be Mauricio Dubon, called up from AAA yesterday when Alex Dickerson landed on the injured list.
You mentioned, Matt, that he attended UC Santa Barbara, the home of one of my favorite teammates of all time, Mr. Michael Young.
Ah, okay.
I knew that rung a bell.
I was wondering which one of your teammates you were going to say went to UCSB.
Yeah, Michael Young.
Okay.
You're talking about a great player, great leader.
Ball and a strike to Dubon.
Michael Young's doing some work in the front office with the Texas Rangers.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done there for sure, but the Rangers, one of the teams that will benefit from a fairly clean payroll heading into next season. And by the way, so will the Giants. Look into their outstanding payroll commitments for next year and beyond, and there's not a lot of red ink. It's pretty amazing the payroll flexibility the Giants are going to have next year. They spent some money keeping Brandon Crawford in the fold this season, but some of the big money comes off the books for next year, and they're going to be very active in the free agent market. Dubon strikes out. That's back-to-back strikeouts for Vasquez in the 8th. Tomorrow, Scott Satterfield leads Louisville against Ole Miss in our primetime college football Labor Day matchup. The only college football game on the schedule, the first ever meeting between the Cardinals and Rebels. Reese Davis and Kirk Herbstreit on the call from Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN and the ESPN app. One app, one tap, and no NFL yet. So why not college football on Monday night?
Was there a little Keith Jackson in there somewhere?
Oh, my.
you know, man, the thing about the Giants, I want to go back and put a button on your point, which I thought was a good one, is the Giants could have very easily, unwinded this championship team. They have the big three. They kept the big three. and reinvested with younger players, complementary players, and they didn't rebuild. They just retooled and now have the ultimate position to be in where they can win a championship and yet have resources to deploy next year.
Yeah.
Well done for Giants management.
This is very sustainable success. A ball and 2 strikes to Thairo Estrada. Back to Vasquez. An impressive 1-2-3 inning. To the 9th, last chance for Los Angeles, still down by 4. Moments of the Dodgers-Giants season series and how the scoreagami craze began in this week's SC Featured. Sports Center next right here on ESPN and on the ESPN app. Some changes here as we start the top half of the 9th as Jake McGee takes over on the mound, and we'll have a couple of pinch hitters face him. The bottom of the Dodgers order in the 9th. Left-handers Austin Barnes and Albert Pujols will have a chance to enter the box score tonight. You know, from scoreagami to Scrabble with names, so many rostered players have gotten into the game today. My goodness. The Giants have used 21 players tonight. I mean, the only guys they haven't used are Buster Posey, who got a scheduled day off. Kevin Gausman starts tomorrow. Webb and DeSclafani are starters, and then there are only 3 relievers that haven't gotten into the game today. This has been a team-wide effort.
Yeah, and if you're one of 26, you're used to it because Gabe Kapler has a quick trigger, and he's been known to pinch hit in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th inning, and we saw a little bit of that tonight.
Counts a ball and 2 strikes to Austin Barnes, batting in the number 8 spot and leading things off in the top of the 9th. Broken bat, tough hop for Bryant, who's been great tonight. Throws off target, however, and Barnes beats it out. That hop was brutal.
A terrific play on the front end with a nasty hop that almost takes his head off. On the back end, just drops his arm a little bit, and that ball takes off on him. You see him drop his hand just a little bit here, and that ball just gets away and cuts away from Belt.
It's a tough error hung on Chris Bryant. Tough, but probably the right call. Just his 3rd error while playing 3rd base this year. And now it's Albert Pujols to pinch hit. The majority of Albert's appearances as a Dodger have come against left-handed pitching. And he, of course, returning to St. Louis with the Dodgers for a series that begins tomorrow. Dave Roberts has said he'll start Tuesday and Thursday in his old stomping grounds. That ball's hit well out to left center field. Duggar will watch, and Albert's gone deep. A 2-run pinch hit home run. And it's a 2-run ball game.
And you mentioned, Matt, Pujols at bats mostly against left-hander. This is a good matchup for Pujols. McGee, predominantly a fastball pitcher, predominantly throws the ball in. Pujols, the ultimate student of the game, looking in, gets in. Booyah! Home run, Albert Pujols.
Albert Pujols has hit 2 pinch hit home runs this year. He entered the season 20 years in the Grande Ligas with a total of 2 pinch hit homers. Wow. He's equaled that total this year. I mean, if only because Albert starts every day until this season. Hasn't that made things interesting? And it's really livened up the crowd. A 2-run game. Career home run number 678.
Two things you cannot do versus the Dodgers. One is free passes, and two is extra outs. Bryant did just that.
Trey Turner pops it up. One away in the ninth.
And Pujols, we've seen that over and over his career, 678 times. That classic, beautiful right-handed swing deep into the night.
Second time he's homered against Jake McGee this season.
And Matt, if you look at the background now, it is an ideal time to hit. There's no more sun. That means you're seeing the ball crystal clear. No more check swings. So Muncy has a shot here, even though it's lefty against lefty.
Ballpark is bouncing, as you can tell. And here's Max Muncy. Would love his first hit of the series to come here in what might be his last chance. He's 0 for 11 for the weekend in San Francisco. The guy that has been a giant tormentor for years.
Outside.
A ball and a strike.
And Matt, if you're a Dodger fan, you only have one wish, that Mr. Dodger gets an opportunity to hit Justin Turner, their most clutch hitter. If he hits, that means he will be the tying run. He's in the hole.
Into the vacated hole, and a base hit for Max Muncy, his first of the series. And that's going to bring the tying run to the plate with one out in the ninth.
And left on left, McGee throwing mid-90s, cross body. Hard to pull this ball. So Muncy does exactly what he needs to do. They hit it away, pitch it away, hit it away.
At the start of this inning, San Francisco pitching had retired 10 straight Dodgers, but it's been a different story here in the ninth. The leadoff error, the two-run pitch hit homer, and now a one-out single, and Mookie Betts is the tying run at the plate. That's former Cardinal John Brebbia up in the San Francisco bullpen, and if he gets into the game, he would be the 10th Giant pitcher used tonight. Friday night in the series opener, the Dodgers tied a franchise record by using 11 pitchers in the extra innings loss. And it's 2-0 to Betts.
Mookie 0 for 4 career against McGee. Good count here, and a dangerous count for McGee. If you're Mookie, you're thinking just get the head out, just like Pujols.
2 balls and a strike. Jake McGee has not rolled a double play ball this year. Two and two. Now the Dodgers finally making some noise in the top of the ninth inning. The Pujols pinch hit homer, their first and only extra base hit of the night. Muncy singled with one out. McGee's 2-2. Jake McGee worked on Friday night in the extra innings opener. I mean, there aren't too many relievers, and this is true of both sides. that have had the luxury of back-to-back days of rest. And again, both teams in action in afternoon games on the road tomorrow. I mean, nothing but four-seamers this whole inning, not just to this plate appearance in the inning.
Alex, what happens during a long at bat like this in the mind of the hitter as you're fouling off pitch after pitch after pitch and see nothing but fastballs?
Well, just like an Iron Mike, you're getting your timing, you're getting more comfortable. Your bat head is getting awake, but your eyes are very much getting used to it. And if you're McGee, you want to get him 2-2. Don't get to 3-2, because the guy on deck, Justin Turner, 5 for 11 with 2 doubles against McGee.
I mean, this is kind of who Jake McGee is to right-handed batters. And he gets Betts looking.
And McGee and the Giants get a break there because that ball is in off the plate, Matt. And that's too bad. That's the kind of time where you always tell the umpire, get me early. Don't take the bat away from me.
Justin Turner, last chance for the Dodgers tonight. And after a quick conversation with pitching coach Andrew Bailey, McGee will continue.
So, Matt, with 2 outs here, you change the defense a little bit. You want to go a little bit into prevent. Make sure Bryant has the line at third base. You want to keep Justin Turner at first base. And Seager's left-hander against McGee. Keep Justin Turner in the ballpark and no doubles.
Turner has a single and a walk on his line tonight. He has had some success against Jake McGee, 5 for 11 with 2 doubles. A flare that's fouled. And Los Angeles is down to their final strike tonight. Sold-out crowd on its feet in San Francisco. The 2 best records in all of baseball. The winner tonight assumes first place by themselves in the NL West. The season series between these 2 teams will be a wrap as of tonight. And other clubs will have something to say in terms of a division title. A ball and 2 strikes to Justin Turner. In the air, slicing in right. Yastrzemski hoping for a play. And he's got it. And that first place team will be the San Francisco Giants. The Pujols pinch hit homer made it interesting. They're going to take another look at this fly ball to see if it hit the netting first. The call on the field was out. You know, when you saw the net ripple a little bit, Alex, your instinct was maybe the ball hit it, but I think that was Yastrzemski's glove that made the netting move.
Yeah, it looks like leather first. It rattled the leather a little bit. That looks like a clean out to me. And why not test, right? Nothing to lose.
Is this unbelievable? As closely played as this season series has been, Friday's game, the game-winning play, was reviewed.
Well, it's been a microcosm, Matt, of the entire season. If the Giants win this, they will take the lead 10-9, even though they were outscored during the season by 1 run.
And the final out in 2 of their last 3 games this year will have been reviewed.
Something tells me that these teams will see each other again sometime in mid-October.
It's never happened. They have never seen each other in the postseason under this current format. And it's official. The Giants are 6-4 winners tonight. They claim the season series. And they reclaim first place in the NL West with the best record in all of baseball. 25 games left, and we have no reason to believe it won't be a fantastic finish in Los Angeles and San Francisco.
Great concentration, the leap, the leather, game. And Matt, an absolute heavyweight battle. 2 terrific teams heading in the right